Hi, fourth graders. Welcome back to language. I hope your day is off to a great start. Let's go ahead and prepare for language by getting out your language book and your pencil. Let's open up to lesson 124. It's found on page 243. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to find your spot. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Recently, we've been talking about the differences between adjectives and adverbs. Let's go ahead and review yesterday's lesson first. Yesterday, we talked about an adverb, and adverbs describe verbs. Remember, a verb is a word. It's an action word. You can do it. You remember that song that we sang in class? All right, so an adverb describes those action verbs that we can do. Oftentimes, an adverb will end with an ly attachment at the end of the word, and an adverb will answer one of these three questions. Can you say them with me? How, when, and where. One more time. How, when, and where. Adverbs describe verbs. In contrast to that, we talked about earlier last week about adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns. Do you remember what a noun is? A noun names a person, like you, a place, like the kitchen, a thing, like a marker, or an idea, like loyalty. All right, adjectives always describe nouns. Adverbs describe verbs. Just like adverbs have questions that they answer about the verbs, adjectives have questions that they answer about the nouns. Let's say these 5 questions together. Ready? Begin. Which one? What kind? How many? How much? Whose? One more time. Which one? What kind? How many? How much? Whose? I have one sentence on my board this morning. Let's go ahead and look at this sentence together to see if we can identify every word that's in this sentence. But don't be overwhelmed. We're going to take it one step at a time. Let's take a look. The morning sun shines brightly. The morning sun shines brightly. I hope the sun is shining brightly at your house today. Let's go ahead and find the star of this sentence. Remember, we call that the subject. The subject is who or what the entire sentence is about. What is this entire sentence about? It's about the sun. Let's go ahead and mark sun. I'm going to mark it with an underline. That is my subject. Now, what is the subject doing? What is the action that it's doing? It shines. Shines is our action verb. Now, if we have a noun like sun, that's a thing, we could have some adjectives. Remember, adjectives describe nouns? Let's see if there's some words that tell us more information about sun. Well, which sun? The sun. The is an article, and articles are always adjectives. Do you remember how many articles there are in the English language? A, and the. Say them with me. A, and the. Now, we know we have the sun shines brightly, but there's another adjective describing a little bit more information about the sun. The morning sun. That tells us that this sentence is happening first thing in the morning, not later on in the afternoon. The morning sun shines. Okay, now I wonder if there's a word that tells us, well, how is it shining? Do you see a word, especially a word that ends with an ly? The morning sun shines brightly. Brightly is our adverb describing the verb shines. It's telling us how the sun is shining. Brightly, do a little dab there. Okay. All right, let's go ahead, and if you haven't already, open up to page 243 and let's do some review together. Now, I'm going to start by looking at the yellow box. And when I look at the yellow box at the top of this page, I notice that we're putting adjectives and adverbs together to see if we can tell the difference between the two. Remember, adjectives always describe nouns, adverbs always describe verbs. So what I'm going to do for this page is I'm going to just kind of draw a line. I'm going to redo that so it's not so thick. Let's try this one. Draw a line kind of separating these two things because the top section is talking about adjectives and the bottom section is talking about adverbs. Before we get started on our page for today, let's go ahead and do just a quick review. And if you'd like to, you're welcome to mark the things in your textbook as I'm doing it in mine. So the top, we're talking about adjectives. I'm going to just do a little highlight there. An adjective, what does it do? It describes a noun. Now, I gave you 5 questions that the adjective can answer, but remember I told you last week that your textbook is only going to focus on 2 of those questions. Let's underline or highlight, if you happen to have a highlighter with you, the questions. What kind? How many? And don't forget that there are 3 special adjectives called articles in our English language. And articles are always adjectives. Let's mark those now. A, and the. Those are always going to be adjectives. Always, always, always. Now let's go down to the adverb section. All right. I'm going to go to my favorite color. There we go. Actually, look at all those fun new colors. I'm going to do this one. Oh, yeah, so summary. Adverbs next. Adverbs describe what? What do they describe? Verbs. Let's highlight or underline the questions that they answer. How, when, where. Remember, if an adverb is answering the question how, it will often end with what? L-Y, L-Y, great. Now for both the top and the bottom section, they went over how to diagram both of those. I'm going to take the sentence that I showed you up on the board and show you how I would diagram that. Remember, a diagram always starts with a straight line. Now that we've drawn a straight line, ooh, that's not too straight, but you know what? I've got my handy dandy ruler here. I can make it so much better. Bear with me. Good magnet. Okay. Now that is a straight line. Now we're going to take that straight line and just, cut it in half. Subject goes on the left. So remember, what was this entire sentence about? Sun. What is the action verb? What is the sun doing? Shines. Okay, now that we have our simple subject, we have our simple predicate, let's go ahead and get started with our adjectives. So the was our first adjective, go underneath. The goes underneath sun. What kind of line is this? It's a diagonal line, remember from our math lessons that we've been talking about, emeralds. And morning. Oh, let's see if I can squeeze it in. Oh, yes, we got it in there. Okay. And how is it shining? Brightly. Remember, when you are diagramming adverbs, the adverb that you diagram will always go underneath the verb that it's describing. Just like the adjectives will always go underneath the noun that it is describing. The only exception to this is if we were to have a linking verb here, then we would have our lazy leaning line to the left, and then the predicate adjective or the predicate noun that comes after that, okay? But for the most part, all adjectives will go underneath the noun that it describes. All verbs will go underneath the verb that it describes. Let's go ahead and go back to our book. Let's take a look at section 1. Section 1 says, decide whether each underlined word is an adjective or an adverb. Fill in the circle next to the correct answer. Now remember, students, in order to decide whether a word is an adjective or an adverb, we have to first determine what kind of word is it describing. Okay, so let's look at sentence number 1 together. Her new folder is on the desk. Oh, I think that's as big as I can get it. Her new folder is on the desk. What is new describing? Can you take your pencil and draw an arrow from new to whatever new is telling more about? New gives us more information about what kind of folder we have. It's a new folder. It's not an old one. It's not a torn one. It's not a purple one. It's a new folder. Now, look at the word that new is describing, folder. Is folder a noun or is it a verb? It is a noun because folder is a thing. Because new is describing a thing, that makes it an adjective describing a noun. Let's go ahead and fill in the circle neatly, completely, and darkly for adjective. Here we go. Let's do a little bit bigger. How about this one? Ah, perfect. There we go. Number 2, Jane bought it yesterday at the store. Jane bought it yesterday at the store. What is the word yesterday describing? Is it describing Jane? I don't think so. Instead, yesterday is telling us when the folder was bought. When was it purchased? Let's take our pencil and draw an arrow from yesterday back to bought. What kind of word is bought? Bought is a verb. It's something that you can do. Because yesterday is describing a verb, that makes yesterday an adverb. Let's color in for adverb. Number 3, the folder is purple. Okay, now we're getting to that purple, Mrs. Roach's favorite color. Okay, the folder is purple. What is purple describing? Folder, you're right. Well, what is folder? Folder is a noun. It's the subject of our sentence. Because purple is describing a noun, that makes purple an adjective. Now, maybe purple's not your favorite color, but I bet if we were to replace purple with your favorite color, whatever color you plug in, that would still be an adjective because it's describing folder. Let's move down to number 4, but this time our instructions are changing just slightly. Let's stop and pay attention to that first. It says underline one adjective and circle one adverb in each sentence. Okay, so I always like to do whatever the instructions say to the instructions, so I'll be careful to do that. So when it says underline one adjective, I'm going to take my stylus here and actually underline the word adjective so I will remember to do that. And where it says circle one adverb, I'm going to take my pencil, my stylus here, and circle the word adverb. So I'll know that I'm circling the words that describe verbs. Let's look at number 4. Raymond sometimes eats 2 sandwiches for lunch. Raymond sometimes eats 2 sandwiches for lunch. Now remember, for each sentence, it will have something that we're underlining and something that we're circling. Now, what is our action verb here? Eats. Now, I'm going to take my stylus. I'm going to do it in a little darker color. I'm going to underline eats 2 times. Even though the instructions doesn't tell me to do that, that will help me know that eats is our action verb. Well, how does he eat? Doesn't say. When does he eat? Oh, he eats sometimes. He eats sometimes. So sometimes is going to be my adverb that I circle. Ooh, that does not look like a circle. Let's try it again. Gracious to Betsy. Let's just do that. Sometimes is our adverb that we're going to circle because it describes the verb eats. Now we have one adjective. Is there anything that's describing Raymond? No. Let's see. What are the other nouns in this sentence? What's a thing? Sandwiches. Oh yeah, that's something we can eat. Does it tell us, well, which one of the sandwiches? No. What kind of sandwich? Peanut butter and jelly, ham? No. How many sandwiches? Yes. How many sandwiches did Raymond eat for lunch? 2. Underline the word 2 one time. 2 is describing how many sandwiches Raymond is eating. If you'd like to do so, you can even draw your arrows like I did for the first section to show that sometimes it's describing eats and 2 is describing sandwiches. Let's move on to number 5. Yesterday, his sandwich was big. Yesterday, his sandwich was big. Why don't we start by finding the verb first? What is our verb? Am, is, are, was. Stop. Underline was 2 times. Ooh, what kind of verb is was? It's a linking verb, that's right. So that means there must be another word coming after the linking verb to tell us more information about the subject. Remember, a linking verb connects the subject to something else later on in the sentence. Well, what is the subject of our sentence? Who or what is this entire sentence about? This entire sentence is about sandwich. Well, what was the sandwich? It was big. Underline big because they're wanting us to underline the adjectives. And let's draw an arrow back to the word that it's describing. Adjectives describe nouns. The noun that big is describing is sandwich. Now, this sentence also has an adverb. Remember our adverb questions? Our adverb questions are how, when, where. Okay, well, is there anything that answers how he was eating or when he was eating a sandwich or when was the sandwich big? Of course, yesterday. Yesterday is one of those time order words that answers the question when. Let's circle yesterday. Let's see if my circling technique will work a little bit better. Yay! And I'll draw my arrow to was. When was the sandwich big? It was big yesterday, not today. Number 6, his kind sister quickly packs their lunches. His kind sister quickly packs their lunches. Why don't we start again by finding the verb in the sentence? The verb is a word, it's an action word. You can do it, okay. What is being done in this sentence? Packs. All right, why don't we go ahead and find the adverb now since we've already found the verb? Well, how is it being packed? Do you see a word that starts with an L or that ends with an ly? Oh, I see one. What is it? Quickly. How was the lunch packed? It was quickly packed. Well, that's a big old circle, but I'll take it. Okay, so we have our adverb. That's great. We still have an adjective to find. Let's see if we can find it. Well, what are our nouns in the sentence? Well, our subject is what? Who's doing the packing? Sister. Is there any information to tell us about the sister? Which one? My oldest sister, my youngest sister? No, we didn't hear words like oldest and youngest, middle. What kind of sister? Ooh, kind sister. She's sweet, she's kind. Let's underline kind one time and draw an arrow to sister because kind is giving us more information about the character of our sister. Number 7, Raymond carefully pours hot soup into bowls. What is our action word? What is the action that's occurring in this sentence? Raymond is pouring. Now that we've identified the action verb, let's find the adverb. Well, how is Raymond pouring? Carefully. Did you see that ly at the end? Carefully. Let's draw our arrow from carefully to pours. Is there any information describing Raymond, our subject? No. Are there any other nouns in the sentence? Yes. Soup and bowls. Let's see. Which one of the soup? Which one of the bowls? No. What kind of soup? Yes. Hot soup. Let's underline hot, draw an arrow to soup. Hot is the adjective describing or giving us more information about the noun soup. Let's move on to our last item, the diagramming. Oh, one of my favorites. Okay, I hope you enjoy it too. So how we start with diagramming is we must identify what's in the sentence first, because if our identifying of the different words are incorrect, then our diagram is going to be incorrect. So let's focus on the sentence. The 3 kittens purr softly. Oh, my mom's gonna love this sentence. She loves kitty cats. Okay, the 3 kittens purr softly. Maybe you have a kitty cat at home too. What is the action that's taking place in this sentence? Purring, that's our action verb. Who or what is doing the purring? Diego, you know this one? Kittens. Okay, kittens is our subject. All right, Valentina, how many kittens are in this sentence? 3. So let's draw an arrow from 3 to kittens. Jordan, what is the article that's telling us which kittens? The is describing kittens. Now there could be an adverb. An adverb describes verbs. They often end in what? Ly. Miss Gracie, what do you see there? Softly, softly. So I'm going to draw an arrow from softly to purr because it's telling us how they're purring. Have you ever heard a kitten purr? It's a pretty sound. Okay, now that our identifying is done correctly, it's time for us to diagram. They've already done the first step of diagramming, which is to draw our straight line. Let's do the next step by cutting that line in half. Now that we have our line cut in half, let's look on the left-hand side of that line. On the left-hand side, that is where our verb is going to live, kittens. Subject on the left, what goes on the right? Verb on the right. What is describing kittens in the sentence? The and 3. We have 2 adjectives. So that means we're going to have 2 lines coming underneath. Which one will I write first? The. The reason why I'm writing the first is because it came first in the sentence. 3 comes next. The and 3 are written underneath kittens because they are adjectives that are describing kittens, telling us more information about the kittens that we have. What is describing purr? Softly. Let's go ahead and write another diagonal line. This time, let's write it underneath the verb, like this. Now that we have our diagonal line drawn, let's write softly on top of that line. Softly goes underneath purr because softly is giving us more information about how the kitten is purring. The kitten is purring softly. Okay, students, at this time, go ahead and turn the page to page 244. And if you're looking on page 244, you should see a picture of some football players at the top of the next page. Go ahead and try your hand at identifying the adjectives and the adverbs in these sentences. I can't wait to see your diagramming at the bottom of the page. If you have any questions, just circle that number, and I look forward to discussing that with you very soon. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.